and I just started illustrating fun things that made me happy. Those days where I'm like, I feel like I can draw everything and anything in the world, you know? And I'm like, but then I have those or months where I'm like, how do I do this again? I'm trying to get away from that word positive because I feel like although it is positive, a lot of it I feel like it's just like being okay with your current situation, and to see it in pin form, to see it on like the walls and stuff. Like I was obviously like super excited. Like that's like the coolest shit ever. That's the stuff that I want to be a part of. Like I'm at a Raptors game and I'm like, holy shit, that's my art there. And I'm like fucking trying to take a picture. Make a movie or like a short, but like working with Pixar would be super fun. You know, like TikTok, I feel like I'm producing content, whereas like Instagram, I feel like I'm producing artwork. Like I hated when people called my stuff cute, and now I'm like, I'm just gonna own it.
Welcome to the Sunday Podcast. I'm Kayla Gordon, and I'm your host for this podcast, a podcast that talks to creatives that are in all fields, from illustrators to art directors, as well as founders of large and small businesses, diving into their journey, how they got to where they are, insights on their specific role, advice for anyone looking to get into their specific field, or anyone interested in just learning more about the creative world, looking at the lows, but also the big wins. This is the Sunday Podcast. But thank you for coming on the podcast.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're kind of everywhere. I don't know how I stumbled across you, but your work is absolutely everywhere. So congratulations. Toronto
Thank
icon,
you.
I would say.
It's taken a long time. It wasn't easy.
So how did you get into the world of illustration and graphic design as a career?
I went to school on a track and field scholarship to the US. And while I was there, I never took any art classes before, but I got into graphic design, and then I graduated. And when I finished school, my portfolio was garbage. Like it was not good. I was definitely not confident at all in my work. And then it took I graduated. I was just looking today. I graduated in 2011. So it took me 11 years to get to this point. And, I dabbled in a lot of different fields. I was bartending for a long time. I would always fall back to like illustrating. So I would like just hop on my computer and jump on Adobe Illustrator and like make whatever I was making at that point in time. And then I guess 2019, I ended up getting my first design job with a company called Hook. And that lasted about a year. And from there, I was there until pretty much like February 2020. And then we all got laid off, and then the pandemic happened. And that's kind of just felt like a point where I felt like we were all equal, like no one was above anyone at that point. And we were all just like, what the hell is going on in the world? And then I was just like, okay, I took a little bit of break. I was going to like quit graphic design. And then I just got back into illustrating, and I just started illustrating fun things that made me happy. I guess you could say I'm here now.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible how it sounds like you kind of really started in 2019 and like grown like a huge amount in that amount of time. And, from 2019 to now, it might seem like a long time, but it's quite a small amount of time, and what you've done with that is incredible. So congratulations.
And like 2019, I was like my first full-time design job, right? I think I actually just like listened to one of your podcasts yesterday to kind of prep myself. I was just like looking back, and I was like, when was my first job that I actually got paid for?
Yeah.
So I think that was the question that you asked. And I looked back at my Instagram, and it was like 2015. I did these like funny Instagram posts for Lost and Found, which is like a clothing store based out of Toronto. So I've always been like doing freelance, but not enough to like survive, like I was making $100 here, $150 here, but it wasn't like, okay, I can quit bartending and like focus strictly on this. It was just like, okay, here's $150 that I didn't have, and I got to make something fun. But yeah, 2019 was definitely like the start of, the work I was doing, I don't think was my favorite type of work, but it still like allowed me to be in that space and like be on my computer every day and figuring things out that I didn't know before and just like continuously learning.
And would you say you found, because you have a very like certain look to everything that you produce, like you would know that it's your work. So
Mhm.
what year would you say you kind of found that voice?
Honestly, like 2020. And
Okay.
like through 2020, I was, I was taking, so I guess like March 2020, everything ended. And then I just started drawing these like little how to guides. I was like, oh, these are fun. And then it just slowly, like, I even feel like now I'm still like developing my style, like, yeah, sure, I have like that style that I've been using for the last 7, 8 months. I still feel like I'm working on trying to get better, whether that's like the shading, the highlight, just the overall figures of the characters. And like, I see a lot of artists out there and I'm like, damn, they're so good. So I'm like always trying to push to like get to that level but don't get me wrong, I am happy with my work.
Of course. And were you always like a creative growing up? Like, was it always at like kind of the back of your mind? And were you like illustrating as a kid?
Not really, to be honest. I was always just like into sports. I was always just running around and playing basketball, soccer, hockey, track and field. So I definitely would say I was more of like an athletic kid than anything. I remember like my cousin was always like airbrushing and stuff when I was growing up, and like my aunt used to babysit me, so I would see him doing that and I was like, oh, that's so cool. But like I can't do
Yeah.
that. And now I'm like trying to like get to that level. But yeah, I definitely wasn't a creative kid growing up. I would say I got into creativity and like the art world or the art scene when I was in university. So like 2009 to 2011 was really when I was like, okay, I don't want to take this education program anymore. I want to take graphic design. And I went in like not knowing a thing, not drawing a face or a hand or an apple in my life, like I just was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
going to do this. So
Yeah,
anyone can do
completely.
it.
Yeah, I'm someone like I feel like I grew up kind of a creative, but then I was like I'm gonna be a lawyer, and holy
Oh,
crap,
shit.
like went to 1 week of business school and on track to become a lawyer, and like that's what I took in high school. I didn't take any art classes. Um, and then suddenly I had a realization and I'm like, okay, I switched to fashion and I'm like, you have to sew your first year. I wasn't in fashion design, but you have to sew. And I'm like, I've never fucking sewed shit in my life. Like, what am I doing here? Wasn't even like a graphic designer either. So I'm like, I started from the very beginning, but it's kind of like you. It's like we're just kind of thrown into it, but then kind of find your way.
For sure. I think you just got to stick with it. If it's something that you actually like are passionate about, then why not like, I obviously listen to a lot of like speeches and stuff like that, but it's like, why not focus all your attention on like something that you love versus something that you hate?
Exactly. What has been the hardest part with being an illustrator and graphic designer?
I guess like just like constantly trying to create. I have those days where I'm like, I feel like I can draw everything and anything in the world, and I'm like, I have a good groove. But then I have those like weeks or months where I'm like, how do I do this again? Like, how do I
Yeah.
keep pulling new stuff, or like, how do I keep on designing new stuff? And I think that's kind of like, I feel like whenever I'm having issues with that, that's when I kind of pull away from, like, if I'm doing client work, I'll pull away from it and try and focus on something that like, that you'll see on Instagram. And that's like kind of where that whole Instagram, I guess, art comes from, is like dealing with like personal experiences and like having that creative outlet where, okay, I'm doing client work for, let's say, Milk Up, and I'm struggling super hard. I'm going to step away. I'm going to do something that like is just like purely for me. Like I'm going to draw a basketball or something. And then, and then I'll kind of like catch a groove doing my own thing and then get back into the client work. And it's like consistency, like, and always having to deliver,
Yeah.
I would say, is the toughest.
Yeah. And so you're not in Toronto right now. Have you worked remotely before, and like have you found that helps you not being in the exact same place? Because of COVID, we were all kind of stuck. And
Mm-hmm.
with what you do, you're able to kind of work remotely. So do you think that helps with like inspiration?
I'll be honest. Like when I was in Costa Rica for the last 3 weeks, it was tough. Like it's tough to not be at the beach. It's tough to not try and learn how to surf, like
Yeah.
I was just trying to like experience and like just like have conversations with people and just enjoy like that heat. So that's kind of why I came to Mexico City, because I was like, okay, this reminds me of home. I can buckle down. I can get at a hostel that has like a co-working space. So I'm like, I can buckle down and I can do my work and focus on and like feel like I'm in Toronto. I'm pretty good at like, I've been freelancing for the last year and I'm pretty good at just like chilling in my bedroom and working.
And okay, so where do you get your inspiration from, and what does your creative process look like, whether that be for yourself or for another brand?
I guess my inspiration, let's just say like for my Instagram is just strictly from like everyday life. I'm pulling like, if I'm struggling with something, is thinking of an idea, like hearing something on the radio or on like Spotify or something, and just using an idea and like flipping it and creating something that is relatable to something that I'm experiencing currently. I guess when dealing with clients, it's just like kind of seeing what they want and how they, obviously for the most part, they're coming to me for my style now, which is like super cool. So I can stay within that style, but it's also like, all right, what do you want? And sometimes it's very clear what they want, and then sometimes it's very like, do your thing, and you're like, ah, shit, what do I do?
Yeah.
I think all those like options kind of have their ups and downs as well.
And do you like sticking to quote unquote like your style, or do you like when a brand reaches out to you and you get to explore a different style?
I like sticking to my style right now just because I feel like it's still so new for me.
Yeah.
So even though it's been, I've like developed it over the last year, it's still super fresh, and like I still like to have fun with it. And, like milk up, I drew a milk carton and I'm like, oh, this is like super cute. And I like that. So I think I still want to like work within my style. Whereas like if a client came to me for something else, I'd kind of be like, maybe you should try someone else.
With the things that you produce, and the messaging behind everything is very positive. And do you have a mission or vision for your personal brand?
I'm trying to get away from that word positive because I feel like, although it is positive, a lot of it I feel like is just like being okay with your current situation, and like just me trying to, a lot of it's just like dealing with like myself and like telling people how I'm feeling. And I feel like it's pretty relatable, especially in these times. So I feel like my messaging, yeah, I don't know if it's like super positive, but it just like allows you to know that like others are feeling similar to you.
Do you have just a mission and vision for your personal brand? Like, do you want to stay consistent with, like what you believe in? Like you're kind of, what you're saying is you kind of do have a mission, right? Like you want to stick to what you believe in, and that's what is clearly presented in your brand. And is that what you're sticking with?
Yeah, I think like for the next, at least like the next year or so, I do always like have that conflict of like, do I still want to keep talking about this stuff, or like, do I want to talk about something new? I think it's just like coming up with like different ideas, different ways to say it, different ways to present it. And, like a big goal for 2022 is like to write a couple of like books that are not necessarily for children, but like that children's style book that I want to like release.
Yeah.
And have that messaging of like how to be a good best friend and how to bounce back, or like how to take care of your mind, be kind to your mind.
Yeah, children's books are so incredibly fun. Like I used to work at one of my first jobs was at Indigo, and I was working in the kids section.
Nice.
And children's books, there's something to it, and you can have so much fun with it. And like, as an illustrator, it's kind of a dream. And like, you'd have to have I don't know if you're a copywriter as well, but you'd have to get a copywriter on board. But you can definitely have so much fun with that. I'm looking forward to buying that book.
Thank
I'm
you. I
manifesting
appreciate
it
it.
for you as well.
I have a little niece, so I'm trying to drop it soon, while she can still enjoy
Yeah.
it.
Okay. I'll be waiting. It's going to happen. 2022. I feel it.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be a kid's book necessarily, but I feel like there is a kid's book within a couple of my ideas. But I do
Yeah.
want to drop like my how-to guides in book form.
I'm like trying to
I
envision what it's like.
I want to swear in it still,
Oh, fair. That would be a lot of fun, actually.
It's like a kid's book, but for adults. And it's
That would
like
be
just
so
a little
fun.
reminder.
Yeah, maybe like even like look into making like a Zine, which is like small versions of magazines, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, like that'd be so fun. It's a great idea. I'm
I
here
have
for it.
like the way I have it laid out is kind of like those Little Miss Sunshine books.
Brilliant. Absolutely
Yeah,
brilliant.
but like for adults, talking about stuff that, I mean, obviously you can read it to your child, but I don't want to. I'll do a children's book, but I don't want to mess with the integrity of like the way I talk and like the way I write.
Yeah, fair. Okay. Okay. I will be looking forward to that. It's not just a
Yeah,
children's book. Okay,
the
got
the
it.
kids book I'll need a copywriter for. So if anyone hears this and is a copywriter, holler at your boy.
I know some copywriters. I might be able to help you with that one. And then so when you have this sort of mindset and like you believe in things obviously very strongly, right? And you have, I don't want to use the word positive, but you are like you speak your mind, so to say, like whatever's on your mind, and like you transform that into illustrations. And when you have this mindset, do you keep that in mind when working with a partner, a collaboration as well, and if it aligns with what you believe in?
It's tough, right? Like, I do a lot of work for like Ruru Baked, and like our messaging isn't necessarily like super positive, like it's
Yeah,
just a t-shirt design that I'm making for an ice cream brand,
yeah,
which I think is nice though, because I don't want to just like always be trying to pull different words and saying the same thing differently all the time for every client. So it is nice to have those clients where it's like, hey, we really love your stuff and it's super cute. Can you make us something for Milk Up? And I'm like, cool. Here and there, there'll be like some of that messaging, but then there's other parts where it's just like it is a milk carton.
so you share so much of your process through social media, and you're someone who really doesn't gatekeep how you produce something, and from the way that you illustrate to even the fonts you use, which is very admirable because a lot of people do like to keep, especially when they have a very specific style, but you're very open with it, which is very admirable. And do you believe that people can just take your work as inspiration rather than copying?
I mean, for sure. There's, I draw hearts, I draw the earth, I draw the sun, I draw
Yeah,
a basketball. It's like,
yeah,
those aren't things that people aren't drawing. I
yeah,
just draw them my way and try and use fonts and use like different fonts that I'm downloading or like different fonts that I'm seeing online and buying and purchasing or whatever. So yeah, I do think there's a way to do similar work, but like do it your own style. Like there's a lot of artists that are doing the same stuff as me, and we all have our different styles, and we might be talking about the same thing, but the same subject, but our styles are different. Don't get me wrong, like people DM me stuff all the time and I'm like, yeah, like I don't know what to say. Like
yeah.
we kind of have the same style, but it's like I know looking at it it's not mine. But then there are things where I'm like, people DM me stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, that's definitely my work and they stole it, and that was not right. I just went through something like that like last week, and I was just like kind of
What do
frustrated.
you do in that situation?
I just hit them up and I'm like, hey man, this is not cool, this is not your work. And sometimes they give excuses, sometimes they just like delete it, or like, I don't know how to say it, like turn their account private. What else can I really do? Like I don't have a lot of money to sue people.
Yeah. In
I'm
time,
not
in
trying to sue
time.
people. I'm just trying to be like, hey man, that's not cool. Like, don't steal people's work. And if you have other people's work that you've stolen, like you should take that off your website too.
Yeah, some people, they definitely need a wake up call. So some of them will probably get like cease and assist letters, but until then, like approaching it the way you are is like, I guess, the best way. And hopefully it sticks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a moral type
Yeah, like I don't
of
want to
an ethic.
be, yeah, I don't want to be mean about it, but it's also like, don't steal my work
Yeah, no.
so blatantly, like
Yeah. You can just say it straight up.
I know
Like
there's a
they'll
lot
get
of,
it.
yeah, like you didn't change a thing. Like that is it. You've literally used everything I did,
Yeah, they
and that
probably
is not
just
cool
like
at all.
literally put it and just like fucking traced it or something.
They're like, I had a dream. I don't even want to get into that. I reached out to someone the other day and they're like, yeah, man, I must have had inspiration. I don't know how it looks the same. I'm like, bro, like literally everything is the same. Like everything, like the face is the same way. The rosy cheeks are the same. The highlights are the same. Like it's all the same. There's no chance that you just saw this and redrew it from imagination.
Okay, so your posters are sporadically around Toronto. I remember I was just on a streetcar yesterday and I'm like, oh my God, wait. So how do you feel when you see your work around?
I mean, it's super cool. That project for like the what was it? It's okay to forgive yourself. I teamed up with Postering Toronto, so they hit me up and I paid a fee, and they like I just like paid for the posters pretty much, and then they went out and like were posting up when they were doing other projects. So yeah, that was super cool. That one, and then obviously like seeing the Milk Up stuff come together, and like the like the only thing I had a part of that was like literally creating these illustrations and sending them AI files. So
Yeah.
to see it in pin form, to see it on like the
Yeah,
walls and
wow.
stuff, like I was obviously like super excited. Like that's like the coolest shit ever. That's the stuff that I want to be a part of. Like those types of projects where it's not just like, hey, draw us a graphic for a t-shirt, or hey, draw us something for a tote bag. But it's more like, hey, draw us a bunch of this and we're gonna make an event, and there's going to be these, like those milk
Yeah.
up things are at like the Raptors games and the Leaf games, which is crazy. Like I'm at a Raptors game and I'm like, holy shit, that's my art there. And I'm like fucking trying to take a picture,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah,
geeking
yeah.
out hard.
Like a graphic
So
designer's dream always to like see some, like I feel like it never gets old, like to see your
yeah.
stuff in real life. It's like, holy shit, I did that. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, I did that. People don't get it.
Yeah, I like send that stuff to my mom and stuff, I'm like, mom, what?
Yeah.
She obviously
Okay.
shows it to my dad, but I'm like, mom, show
It
the
is a big
family.
deal. It is a big deal.
Yeah, like I grew up watching the Raptors from like day one. So to see it at a Raptors game, I'm just like, you can see it in my face right now. I'm just like, it just makes me like super, super stoked.
Do they like just give it out to people in the seats?
No, so it's like, do you know like the ads that are running along like courtside? There's like
Yeah.
always ads that are flipping. It like flipped to a Milk Up ad, and I was like, word. And then I looked across, and it's like the little milk carton character, and I was like, no fucking way.
That's so
I was
fun.
like, this is so sick. Yeah, I get super excited about that stuff.
No, it's great that
So yeah,
like, yeah,
seeing it in person is obviously super fun, super cool,
yeah, and you're like, I feel like no
especially
matter,
unexpected.
yeah, and the Raptors are huge, and like I feel like you're a big like Toronto fan as well. Like,
Yeah,
in what you do, you're like Toronto. So to see it around the city and to be partnering with like other Canadian and like Toronto based companies is pretty cool.
yeah,
So
I will always work with Toronto companies.
it's, Canadians, yeah, Canadians, there's something about us. If you're based in Toronto, it's like you love Toronto. I don't know how to explain it. People who love New York love New York. People who love Toronto. What can I say?
I agree.
So your work in general is everywhere, and a huge partnership is with like the Milk Up campaigns. And the first time I saw that was the Post to Pay pop up. Was that the first partnership that you did with them? Was in the summer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Post to pay was the first one, so I just like worked on that all through pretty much like May until August, and then that campaign launched I think mid September to October. I think it was like every weekend for 4 weeks or so. So yeah, that was the first one I did. We kind of continued on to drop like that poster release for this year. I think
The
they just want to
post
keep the campaign rolling.
Yeah, the Post to Pay pop up. I remember seeing. I never actually visited, but with social media, with TikTok, right? Like that was everywhere. I saw
Mm-hmm.
just portions of it absolutely everywhere. Was there a tote bag that you did? Was that yours as well? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, it was like yeah, like you pretty much when you everyone that entered into that pop up, you got like a tote bag to put your little like pins in, your patches in, your
Yeah.
T-shirt, and I think like milk and cereal and stuff like that.
You were kind of like the base of this campaign. Like you're the backbone. It's pretty cool.
That was pretty cool for sure. It was like obviously like hearing them talk about the concept and then seeing it come together was obviously like really cool, like just like we talked about a little bit earlier. It was super exciting to show up and like have those characters like blown up on the wall. um, yeah, I was stoked. I brought my friends out, and obviously
What was that process with working with a company like that? Did they just give you a creative brief and you kind of had all reins, or how did that? work?
They pretty much had like a bunch of ideas already written out. I think I had to make 8 characters for them. So,
Mhm.
like they had their taglines just like pertaining to different things that they wanted to see. And I was just like, they're like, yeah, we want a milk carton. We want this, we want that. And then I was just kind of doing my thing and making a milk carton with like the words 2% better. And then there was some that I kind of just like was like, I think this font or this verbiage or copy would look a lot better and sound a lot better. So yeah, it was like illustrating and then also like using the font that I used, which was like a pretty cool font, which was Chi from Oh No Studios, which is one of my favorites.
That was, yeah, all of the Milk Up campaign, like, I feel like it's a huge thing, a huge accomplishment. So congratulations on that. It's still running. I'm sure you're gonna be around with them for quite some time.
Yeah, I hope I can get into something else with them because that was fun. It was fun
Yeah.
and chill, and they were like very open to like letting me do me. It wasn't there was like not many constraints on that project.
And then what is your dream brand that you want to work with?
I
If
don't
you had to
even
pick
know. I read
one.
this question before, and I was just like, I don't know if it's a brand. I think it's more like people. Like there's like
Okay.
a bunch of artists that I would love to collaborate with, and like one of them is like this guy Jeff McFetrich. He's like my favorite artist. He does super cool work. I don't know how we would collaborate, but like I literally bought his shoes from like his Vans Vault shoes to come on this trip, and I was super stoked. And they're like, I ruined them, but yeah, Jeff McFetrich would be the one. If it was a brand, I feel like I've worked with some pretty cool brands already. Maybe like let's just throw this out there. I don't know if it would ever happen, and I don't know if I'd like already wanna like if I would wanna like make a movie or like a short, but like working with
Okay.
Pixar would be super fucking
Ooh,
cool.
wait.
I'm
You're
putting it out
onto
there.
something here. You're onto something. If you want it bad enough, it will happen. That's what I believe in.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited
I
to
just
see
like
that as
don't
well.
really have like that idea yet. So I'm like
Yeah, it's down the
that idea
line.
just came to my head a second ago.
It's a down the line situation, but I mean, if you want it, it'll
Mhm.
happen. So that would be a lot of fun. That would be
It would just
quite the
be cool to see those
process.
characters like 3D and running and holding each other.
Yeah.
And
Oh
also
my
like
god.
working with like their artists who are like next level. Like imagine like one of my characters looking like Up the movie. That'd be so cool.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, my mom's here.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm
Just like,
interviewing someone, mom.
hi mom.
um,
I don't know if you remember, but like back in the day, we used to have to like we had like cassette tapes, and we used to have to like record the radio. And you'd be like,
yeah.
"No one come in the room," and then your mom comes in, and be like,
Yes.
"Dinner's ready," and you're like, "No."
Yeah, you literally ruined the whole thing, mom.
Yeah. Thanks, mom.
Anyways, I lost my train of thought. But Pixar, sorry, yes, Pixar. Yeah, I saw it's so funny because someone maybe it was on friggin' TikTok or something, but I saw someone who was an illustrator. They wanted to work at Pixar itself. And so
Oh, yeah.
they did like a chalk drawing in front of like the Pixar gates where everyone works, and they did an incredible job. And then they obviously like the head office, like everyone was talking about it at Pixar. And I don't know if she got a job there, but they definitely like reached out to her. So that's
That's
just
so
my little
rad.
Pixar sitch. But yeah, anything can happen.
So
That would
pretty
be
much,
sorry.
I'm pretty much just going to make some books, send them out to Pixar,
Yeah, like why
and
not?
then we'll
Why
shoot
not? Exactly.
shoot that shot.
Yes. Okay, so social media has completely changed over the past few years, like at an accelerated rate. Like, we've seen it in
Mhm.
the past 10 years, what it has become, but the past 2 years, because of the pandemic, it's just accelerated. And we saw the emergence of TikTok and short form videos. And you post both on Instagram Reels as well as TikTok. And have you found more success on one platform than the other? And did you feel the pressure to produce these short videos due to the demand of it?
I pretty much, my ex girlfriend was like a social media manager, and she was like, "Get on TikTok." So I got on TikTok, and if you like look at the first videos, I was just kind of like, "Oh, what do I do here?" And then I started like, recording my screen, and they kind of like popped off. Let's just say
Yeah.
that. And that was super cool. But in terms of like the demand, I just know like if you want to be relevant and if you want to continue to get work and if you want to like continue to grow, like you have to do that stuff that is trending. I don't like, trending in terms of like the app of like TikTok and like use reels because they're literally pushing reels. Like
Yeah.
I post static posts now on Instagram and I'm like, this is not doing great. I'd post a reel and it crushes it, like I just
Yeah.
get so much more views on that. I'm not just gonna like pigeonhole myself and be like, no, I only do static. So that's why I've kind of transitioned to doing both. Still gonna do static stuff because I can't sell those videos. So I'm
Yeah.
obviously still gonna like work and do that stuff. I just think, I don't know, showing the process is pretty cool and fun. Do I like doing it? I have my
Okay.
days where I'm like,
Yeah.
like TikTok, I feel like I'm producing content, whereas like Instagram, I feel like I'm producing artwork, but I'm producing content of the artwork. And if that is going to allow me to continue to get jobs with, Milk Up or TikTok one day or Pixar one day, then I'm going to keep doing that stuff.
Oh, you should partner with TikTok. That would be so fun. That would be a great partnership.
I almost did.
And what happened?
I just was like, it was like at the start of my trip, and I was just like, I don't know if I want to take on a project that's going to take a month and literally like have me tied to my desk for the whole month.
Okay.
I was more, I was like, I want to surf and I want to have fun.
Yeah.
So I declined it, unfortunately, but it's cool. I'm working on other fun stuff.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, something else will come, and, with TikTok as well, the platform, it's completely changed for so many brands and like just social media in general. And it's really about like finding your niche and what works. And your TikTok, like you can tell that you found what worked and you just kind of ran with it. And it's working. Like it's working. Not everyone
I feel
can
like
say
you
that.
don't fix what ain't broke. So like I'll obviously I'll try like other things and they don't do so hot on there. But showing that design process, I feel like, I don't know, TikTok is like very intuitive. Like everyone wants to know like how you did this, how you did that, what tool you use here, what tool you use there. So I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm not a gatekeeper. So I'm not going to like, not tell people how I did it, because at the end of the day, like I had a lot of struggles, growing up and like not having YouTube be what YouTube is today, and like trying to learn by myself and like learn Photoshop and Illustrator and like being completely garbage. So if someone needs to learn how to cut out a line from this object, I'm going to tell you. Like this is like stuff that I don't think needs to be held. This is like, that stuff is more like, this is speeding up the process of my work, and that's kind of the stuff that I'm showing. I didn't think people would be like that interested in it, but it seems like they are, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, people like learning, right? Like it's so different from Instagram, and people are trying to still wrap their heads around it. Like brands are trying to wrap their heads around it, and they still don't understand it. Like the people who get it, and the people who don't literally don't. So yeah, it's wild out there. But okay, so what is your favorite part about what you do? It's obviously not TikTok.
I don't know, I just like making characters and draw, like seeing what new shape I can, like I get excited about like drawing a hand and it actually looks kind of cool, like I'm excited about the simple stuff, because like 4 years ago my hands were awful. So the fact that I can like sit here and like draw a dude's hand like on the shoulder of the heart, I'm like, this is exciting to me.
Yeah.
The fact that I've gotten to that level of like, I'm like, that's the stuff that I like doing. I don't really, like TikTok is fun, Instagram is fun, but it's more like just the process of like sitting down in front of my computer and making a white screen go to like something colorful and cute and stuff. I used to hate using that word cute. Like I hated when people called my stuff cute, and now I'm like, I'm just going to own it.
Yeah. You've owned it quite a bit in this interview. I'm like, okay, cute. He doesn't mind his work being called cute, as it is. I mean,
yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. So what is one of your favorite projects that you've worked on Or yes, favorite projects that is not your own brand that you've worked on. Is there a favorite?
I would definitely say the Ruru Bake stuff. That was like pretty much everything I do for Luann is like super fun because she just lets me go at it and I can just do whatever I want. I can use whatever font I want. And, obviously I send her like different versions, but we're pretty much on the same page. Yeah, like making that like graphic that Ruru Baked, right? Like the ice cream
The ice
character
cream,
running
yes.
across. Like that was just like a t-shirt, and then like seeing it pop up on like the pints and stuff is super cool because people are taking photos of that stuff all the time, and
Yeah.
I'm super excited about that. And it was just like, it was something fun that I did before I even really got into like the style that I'm working with now of like those fun characters. But if I were to pick another project, I mean, the Milk Up stuff was super fun. But a project that I really enjoyed was there's a project for this company called Hero Cosmetics, and they're based out of New York. And they did like a pimple patch, and I got to draw like a pimple patch hugging a pimple, and like a bunch of other scenes where it was like this pimple patch with this pimple character who was like upset, and the pimple patch was like super cute and happy. And then I also did I did that version, and then I also did a version for their sunscreen line, and it was just like my sun character running with like the cloud hugging it. And I did like there's one that I'm gonna put up on TikTok soon. I did like a pretty much a cup with water in it and like a lemon in there, and I just thought it said super cute. It was super cute, and it just says like stay hydrated. But like that stuff like hasn't really been seen that much in the world. But that was like a really fun project that like although it took a bit of time to get it to where it was, the like end result, I was like, this might be my best work. And that was in May.
It's very refreshing to see, like, when you talk about all of this, you like light up, like you truly enjoy what you're doing and you're so proud of it. And the thing is, a lot of people can't say that, like, you truly love what you do, and like you can see it, right? Like it's nice, and not a lot of people can say that in an entire lifetime, right? Like they can't speak to work that they've produced where they're completely proud of it. And so you should be proud of that one.
I'm definitely super proud. Like it took me a long time to get to this point. It's not like it's kind of like TikTok. Like you show a video that like took a minute, and I'm just like editing it to take up that minute time, and everyone's like, "Oh man, you make it look so easy," and I'm like, "Yo, but it wasn't that easy." Like I if you look at my style from 7 years ago to 4 years ago to 3 years ago to like now, it's like I've done everything. I've experimented. I've done a lot of different stuff, and then to finally like get to this point where like I have a style, like I'm just like that's what I wanted like my whole life. Like was like my whole art career was like I want a style. I want to be like Jeff McFetridge. I want to be like this person, but like in the sense of like they have their own style, and when you see their work, you're like, oh, that's that person. That's that person. And now I finally feel like I have that, and it like it makes me feel super good inside. Don't get me wrong. I obviously still feel like I have emotions, and I like I have my ups and downs, but like when I am creating, it definitely, especially for myself, it definitely makes me feel super good inside.
And if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be to yourself?
I'd be like, take graphic design right now. Get in graphic design right now. Get on the computer. Okay, I'll give some other advice too. Because I never really like back when when I was 18, like that was a minute ago. So, like computers and like the internet wasn't what it is today. So it would be tough to say that. I would just say like keep doing you. Like I think I've always kind of just done what I've wanted to do, in the sense of like I wanted to run track in the US. I made it happen. I was on my computer emailing 150 schools. So, like I think we just like keep doing you, keep, trust the process for sure. Just like, because you'll eventually, even though things aren't looking good now, like you'll eventually get to that. It's like, yo, you're an illustrator now, you're doing it.
Yeah.
But like when you're 18 is kind of tough because I wasn't really into art, but like 24, 25, 26, I was like, fuck, like I was just like, what am I doing with my life? Like what am I gonna do? And then I'm 34 now, and I'm at this point where I can like say no to a project and like pick and choose what I want to work is like a super good place for me to be. And I'm like obviously like super grateful and hope that it continues.
And then if you have advice for someone else, not yourself, who wants to work as an illustrator and graphic designer in a full-time or even like a freelance capacity, like what advice would you give them?
I would just say like keep at it, keep experimenting, keep trying new styles, and then eventually, hopefully, you'll like land on that style that that you like, that you fuck with, and like that you think that this is like the way that I want to continue to grow, and this is the direction that I think I want to go, and like. And if you decide to switch it up, switch it up. Like it's, you don't have to always do one thing or the other. Like, like I said, like 5 years ago, I was drawing like faces of like hip hop people, 2019, like I was drawing Michael Jordan and like Allen Iverson and like Fred Van Vliet's heads and stuff, like I was doing something completely different than what I'm doing now. And it took me a long break away from that that style and like really dive into something else. So I think just do what you want to do and like keep on going, keep on learning.
Okay, great advice for absolutely everyone. And then what is next for you? I know we briefly talked about it, Dream, Pixar, write all these books, but is there anything on the horizon or what's up? What's up with you? What's next?
Well, currently I actually picked up a project with, I guess you call it like a font studio, someone that like creates fonts. They're called Pangram. So I recently picked up that project like a week ago, and that's why I'm kind of here in Mexico now, just like working on that, which has like been super fun. It's going to be like my characters with their fonts, which like you've already pretty much seen throughout my page. But the fact that they want me to do stuff for them is super, super cool. I'm also working on an NFT project with my friends, which I'm like super stoked about because the NFT world is crazy. And although I don't know much about it, the team that I'm working with knows a lot. But I just get like free range to create what I want to create. And then I think, books, merch, I'm going to be dropping like some keychains soon. And I'm like planning a May drop for a bunch of like prints, merch, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm waiting for some stuff to go in stock so I can buy some stuff. So
I'll send you some stuff. Don't tell me if you like mushrooms or basketball.
Mushrooms are what? Why? Mushrooms. Is basketball's like your brand logo, what you stand for? Okay.
Yeah, it was just something I did a while ago, and I was like, "This is cute."
And it just stuck.
Yeah, I feel like I need to figure out a logo, but I hate doing logos.
It works though. Like you said, don't break what's not broken, or don't fix what's not broken. Is that the same?
Don't fix what ain't broke.
There you go. You know it. Yeah, keep it. I like it. It's cute.
All right, I'll keep it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This means a lot.
All right, thank you for having me. And I'm stoked to see what you're going to do in the future, too.
We'll see. Who knows?
You're working hard, though. I see you. You're working hard.
I'm trying over here.